Starting off downtown Waukesha, where you can finally get close to the river, and a lot of barricades still. Got a lot of rain about a week ago, more rain coming, and got people starting to finally get back downtown. But look at the river, look how this is moving. Wow, that is high on that side. Maybe this would be a good spot to go over from a vlogging perspective on a vlogging camera, the Canon G7X. Been using this camera for the most part on a daily basis. This channel has been daily videos for over a year now. Not really sure when the exact year hit, but prior to that I would use the camera probably 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week. It depends, but been using this for over 2 years, about 2.5 years, and it has held up. Now I do have a backup, but I wanted to do kind of my perspective on going through the pros and cons with a Canon G7X, and the price has escalated a lot more since I picked it up. But my thoughts before switching to another camera and turning this into a backup, how it's held up, and what's good and what's bad about it. As of recording of this, August 16th, 2025, picked this camera up, I believe it was April of 2023. I was afraid these bears were underwater at one, and it might have been. I'm not really sure how high the water got, but when we were here about a week ago, they were literally like ankle deep in the water, and I think the worst of it had happened after we were here, and that's when they really started blocking off some of the sidewalks here. But yeah, I mean, it got higher, but I'm glad to see the bears are at least drying out, but still closed off. You can't go, you don't want to get wet, but you can't go under the tunnel, under the bridge, and yeah, this is barricaded off. I picked up my Canon G7X off of Amazon I mean, it was so long ago that I probably had points, I probably had gift cards. It was $629. The only thing I had to pay was a memory card to put in here, and then of course extra batteries. But I mean, for the camera itself, came with a battery. It just needed the SD card. $629. Did a couple of screenshots today. Now they're starting at $1,367. It's actually more than doubled its price since I originally picked it up. So if I was going to get it, and I'll share, would I get this again? Would I be interested in having this as a secondary camera? That's the price right there. It would cost me $1,500. There's things great about the camera, and number one is you don't need a microphone. Now I have it set up on the actual, and I'll show what I've been using this whole time. I've showed it in other videos, but if you're catching this for the first time, the handle that I have works perfect. I can prop it up, just kind of have my hands free. I don't do a lot of this unless I'm pretty much at McDonald's, having doing a quick foodie, but you don't need a mic. Everything is on the camera. I haven't had to spend too much money for the accessories. The downside is though, you have to have it close. I could get further back and it will still pick up my voice. Get kind of a longer shot. Maybe indoors might work a little bit better. But if I get any further, that's when using a camera that's able to have a microphone, have a receiver connected to it, so you can still do the voice. Otherwise you'll have to do some kind of a voiceover. But yeah, the further I get, and I'm not going to talk any louder, is eventually it's not going to pick up my voice, and it'll probably pick up the people walking behind the camera right now, if you can even hear what I'm saying. So you would need a camera with being able to connect a microphone if you're using this. In the amount of time that I've been using this camera, I mean, currently I have 824 videos. It's just astonishing that it's like I have 824 videos. At least 650 videos have been uploaded using this camera. Also, this is what I've been using as you always call it my handle. I'm not sure exactly what the proper description of this is, but it's a Joby. Bought it from Target. It was about $34. Used it this whole time. There's no gimbal on here, and a gimbal would just kind of keep it from from doing that when I'm walking around. So you know, you do get the bounces when I just decide to just start rolling and walking. You know, a gimbal would make this seem like there was absolutely no shaking whatsoever. So this is just able to just screw on here and just hold it, and just giving myself that much more of a reach. And yeah, $34. It's worked perfectly over the years. These are just they're a little loose. Can't really tell, but sometimes I can just kind of shake them around. But yeah, it also spins. You can turn it however way you want, and kind of position that to work with your camera. So everything about this has held up pretty good over the duration. I mean, it's still working fine, but I just decided that, you know, it's time to just come up with another camera, turn this one into a backup. But this is what I've been using for it. And there's my coffee. Also, there's times where I'll just hold the camera. I prefer using this. I prefer holding this, but there's convenience. If it started to rain out, which it might, it's easier to just put this in my back pocket, or go into a store really quick and just, you know, if I feel there might be a shot, hold this out. But I do, you know, prefer to hold this, to have this connected to it, just to give myself a little bit more of a reach. But you don't need it. It's just kind of awkward holding onto this at times, similar to a phone. You don't really need one of these for a cell phone. You can just hold out your phone. But I do have kind of the why I don't use my phone compared to this. There's a few reasons, which I'll get into. But yeah, for as far as the accessories, you don't need much for this. It's a lot of stuff built in to the Canon G7X. And even though the barricades are blocking the bridge, people are still walking over here. You can get by. They do have the opening on both ends, so we are able to go on the bridge and just kind of look down. But yeah, I mean, the water's never moving this fast. And there was a trash can over here. It must have been removed, or it might have just floated upstream. It's crazy. The camera takes great pictures. It's great not having to have a mic. It works better in the outdoors, in stores, versus at home. It's all about lighting. There's times that I won't use this camera if I'm doing a video at home, unless it's a dark room. So there's things that you just kind of prefer, kind of pick up after using it, especially, you know, for a number of years, hundreds and hundreds of videos, that you just kind of get a niche, like, okay, I'm going to use this for this, and I know better not to use it for something else. Now I'm going to do two shots at the same time. One recording on the Canon G7X, the other recording on my phone. Now, as far as the camera itself, it is on the stand. So I'm holding the cell phone with my hand, and you don't need, you know, there's things you can do where you don't need to have all these accessories, but the purpose of this is to just show you the difference between the mic on here and the mic on the phone. Now, sometimes when the screen is flipped towards me, it does pick up my voice pretty good, but if I turn it, it could be completely different. So the same shot, hearing both, the mic on the Canon, the mic on the phone, it's different. And that's another reason why I prefer using a camera versus the phone. But the phone does take great pictures, and you can tell the difference between the two shots. The camera quality is, there's not much that will top a phone's camera quality. It's the mic that I always kind of struggle with. I'm gonna do two shots at the same time. One recording on the Canon G7X, the other recording on my phone. Now, as far as the camera itself, it is on the stand. So I'm holding the cell phone with my hand, and you don't need, you know, there's things you can do where you don't need to have all these accessories, but the purpose of this is to just show you the difference between the mic on here and the mic on the phone. Now, sometimes when the screen is flipped towards me, it does pick up my voice pretty good, but if I turn it, it could be completely different. So the same shot, hearing both, the mic on the Canon, the mic on the phone, it's different. And that's another reason why I prefer using a camera versus the phone. But the phone does take great pictures, and you can tell the difference between the two shots. The camera quality is there's not much that will top a phone's camera quality. It's the mic that I always kind of struggle with. And filming the same shot with the camera facing out, I'm standing behind both the cell phone and the Canon. You know how the voice could be different on this too. So sometimes when the phone is turned around, it's almost like and I won't really know 100% until I edit, because when I do use my cell phone, which I do use for videos, I use mics, and it makes a difference, because I don't believe that my voice is really going to carry very much on this shot right here versus this shot. And filming the same shot with the camera facing out, I'm standing behind both the cell phone and the Canon. You know how the voice could be different on this too. So sometimes when the phone is turned around, it's almost like and I won't really know 100% until I edit, because when I do use my cell phone, which I do use for videos, I use mics, and it makes a difference, because I don't believe that my voice is really going to carry very much on this shot right here. First thing I will say all the time is you only need a cell phone. That's all you need to do videos. It's the mic, and that's the issue with me, is I don't necessarily need a mic for this camera. Now when I say necessarily, it's because I can't go further back. There's times when, you know, if I'm going to do a certain video, I have to be close enough. Also, there's one con about when I'm talking and I decide I'm going to zoom in or I'm going to zoom out on a shot. There's something that happens with the recording as far as me talking, and it's something that I've had to have a mental note of. When you do this with this camera, you can't talk during the zoom in or zoom out, because sometimes it cuts into my voice, and it happens more cases than not, and it really screws up that shot. You don't get that with a cell phone, but you get it with the Canon. Here's an example. So if I wanted to zoom in on Spirit Halloween and just keep it rolling and just start off, today's adventure begins at Spirit Halloween. We are gonna run inside, check out the new 2025 animatronics and costumes. There will be a break in my voice talking, especially when I zoom in and possibly when I zoom out. I don't do this a lot because of that, and you heard it right in the first shot when I zoomed in. So if I'm gonna start off and just kind of say today's adventure begins, I might do that a few times. We're at Spirit Halloween. It is officially open. 2025 animatronics and of course Halloween costumes. That's kind of like more what I do. And it doesn't do it every time, but sometimes it does cut, and I can't play every shot over and over when I'm doing a video. So I just gotta kind of play the trusting game. Zooming in on Spirit might not have been as noticeable, but it does happen. And the worst, the biggest fallback, the biggest con about this camera is the fact of sometimes you want to zoom in and keep, whatever you're saying, keep it going, and it affects that. And it's something that doesn't happen when I use something with a mic, or I use the camera, use the iPhone for the camera. It doesn't do that. Only with this camera. So biggest downfall from whatever you've heard negative about this camera, I'll talk about the shadowing out in a second, is when I zoom in, it could cut into my voice. So biggest fallback. Also, there's times when I enter Hobby Lobby, for all places, it does have a yellowish tint. Now it takes a little bit for the camera to kind of go back to regular color, but it does happen sometimes. So I am kind of mindful of when I walk in here, don't just start filming, and just give it a second for the camera to adjust, because that's another flaw. All right, look at how long it will take to kind of zoom in on the phone. Like, the camera's working, and this is always a problem. So sometimes I got to pull it back and then go forward, and then okay, here we go. So like when I showed how many videos I did on YouTube, that took a little bit. That really small font, it took a long way. So sometimes when I'm showing something on my phone, which is always nice to have a camera and have your phone, and then I'll go like this, it does take a little bit
Chloe to fabric, please. Chloe to fabric.
for that to show up. So that's probably the number one complaint for people who have used this camera, is it takes a while to focus. And it does sometimes. It's pretty bad. Like you're doing one thing, and then all of a sudden it just starts, it goes out of focus. Or if I turn it up, now something that I want to show right now is the fact that I was just talking, I was filming one way, I can flip it. I can flip the screen and put it back on me. There's times that it's not going to be in focus. So if I film something in hopes of maybe I can get a thumbnail out of this shot, I have to make sure that when I'm looking at this box right above the lens, I am in focus. So another thing to be mindful of. I want to look here, I don't want to look up here, but that's how I can tell if I'm in focus or not. Also, lighting can be a factor. Now, the fact that I have a screen where I can see myself when the camera's facing me, I know that, okay, this is going to be too dark of a shot, so I'll move. But there's times that I'm sure when you're using a cell phone, by the way, there's a lot of skateboards that we're seeing. Ever since I saw that Tony Hawk that I thought was a controller at Best Buy, there's like skateboards everywhere. What is happening? Level up. What's happening with these skateboards? But if I wanted to go right up to something, sometimes more cases than not, it will, it should be pretty clear. But there's times that it's a little blurry, so I'll sit here and just kind of wait, like, when is this going to focus? And eventually it does. But sometimes it does. The phone, a lot of people aren't going to film their phone, but a lot of cases that it does take a little bit for that to be clear. So those are the cons. Those are the turtles. Let's just say 700 videos, Mr. Fox, that I have used the Canon G7X to do videos. Every time that we're doing a shot like now, and then when you see another shot, like the next shot, I just literally stopped recording, pressed it again. So the amount of times where I will stop recording, I'll pick it up again, or simply turning the camera on and off. So if I'm into a store, I'm not gonna leave the camera on the entire time. I will turn it off and turn it on. Honestly, it's been millions of times. On and off, on and off, on and off. It has held up 2.5 years, 700 videos, and more. It's not like this is the final video I'm gonna do with this camera, but the durability alone, pretty good. I have been very mindful, as far as the water resistant. I'm not saying this is water resistant, but it's gotten wet. And there's times that the rain has gotten on the lens where I've had to wipe it off, or it's gotten around the outside of the camera. So I've always been very cautious of that. And if it is, sometimes I'll try to stand under somewhere to do a quick like intro or outro, but I don't spend that much time in the rain with this camera. I do not recommend that at all. Just since leaving Mr. Fox, I've turned the camera off twice, maybe even 3 times. So just from that quick of a shot, we're building a better target for you. That was 3, maybe 4. So again, the turning on and turning off happens a lot. I not to get anybody to shop, but they have their checkouts here. So I haven't been to Target in about a week. The whole checkout area is different with the revamp. I came to Target so I could show how the screen looks. When I'm using it, when I'm looking at myself, it flips up. Which there's some that will come out this way. So when it comes out this way, it's like you got to factor in, like, wherever you are, you could be hanging, you have your arm on a ride, or hanging out the window in the car. That screen is like battling with the elements. At least with this, it just flips up, and then when you have the option of flipping it up, flipping it down. So I do recommend having something like this versus it coming out the side. Would I buy this camera again? I would. I think for the most reason is I'm so used to it. When I switched, starting doing videos with my phone and going to this, not that it's a heavy camera, but it felt different. It felt different holding it, just extending my arm right now, holding this out. It was different. And unfortunately, when I switched to the next camera, that's gonna seem different too. And it's just something that we have to get used to. But would I spend basically $1,500 to get this camera? It seems crazy, but I mean, really, a camera's about $1,000. So For another 500, knowing what I have on here, because I'm so used to it, I probably would. It would be nice to have this, you know, as a backup going further. Excuse me, sorry. But for 1,500, it's a steep price. Unfortunately, nothing's coming down. And I've been fortunate that I got this for, you know, like the 629 range, that it's lasted this long and it's still lasting. But I want to do a recap on my experience with this camera, and the places we went to today is pretty much, you know, where I usually take the camera, and I get used to the lighting, I get used to the sounds, and, you know, just kind of the layout of the land. Let me know what you think. If you've had the Canon, if you're using your cell phone, if you're thinking about other cameras, if there's any questions you have, and after 2.5 years, 700 videos with the Canon G7X. I want to thank everybody for watching. See you guys next time. Out of those 700 videos, Mr. Fox, I mean, honestly, we're in the 200s, maybe 300s together. Like, we've been in a lot of videos together, and you've been in a lot of rain lately. I think there's gonna be some more coming this weekend. Probably see you tomorrow, because I gotta come back to Target and do my shopping, but I'll stop by. Now, the reason why I didn't go ahead and just buy another Canon G7X, because ideally, if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna do a video basically every day, you should probably have 2 cameras. And you know, there's times that I have my cell phone on me just for emergency's sake. Maybe bring some mics, but I mean, you don't want to have like your pockets jammed with things, just in case something should happen. In all the videos that I've done with this camera, one time, it's, you know, it didn't work. It was very temporary. I thought, oh, this is it. And then I took the battery out, I took the memory card out, and it started working again. So that's the only, honestly, the only issue I've had. I call it 700 videos, 2.5 years of using this. And the reason I didn't go with another Canon G7X is because I found another brand that everybody seemed to love. And I'll get to that very soon. That's why I wanted to do this video. And also is the price. This camera was $1,300, maybe even closer to $1,400 when I decided to pick up, you know, my next camera, and that was literally half the cost. Now that has climbed up. So like I said, they're all going up, and it's just kind of, you know, with all these options, like, it's like cars, like which camera would you get? There's gonna be pros and cons, obviously, with any camera, but for the most part, I am pretty happy with the G7X. I just, you know, it just run into that issue when we zoom in, if I'm talking, and just trying to focus. A lot of the cases, maybe it's just, you know, because I've used it so much that it gets harder to focus in time. Maybe that's just, you know, the longevity of it all. So, you know, just, again, it's almost been 3 years that I've been using this on a daily basis. Look at those clouds. And just to show the camera itself, you know, it's hard to do that when that is our 99.9% of the video we just did. Where the microphone is right here. So, you know, you do have to put one of those fuzzies. It will block the wind. Works pretty good. It doesn't block me. I thought that when I first put it on there it would, but the way that this goes on there, there's a couple of holes, and it fits around it. So the holes are open, but they're still protected with that fuzz. You know, using this for as long as I have, it's in really good condition. You can see this is where it screws in to the handheld that I actually am using right now for my phone. Only thing I recommend is, and you can use, you know, the flash will come up here for taking pictures, but I always use it for videos, is there, you probably can't see it, but there are a couple of little marks on the screen. And, you know, if I was ever going to get another one, I would, hit the back button here, I would get a screen protector. Screen is all touch, so, you know, any little bit of movement, and why it's hard when you're holding it with one hand, you can trigger things. So it will tell you the battery, of course. The fact that if you're recording, it will let you know. And then, you know, turning off the record, so on and off. And then the same with when I record, like, I don't leave it on until the next shot. So I have literally turned this on a million times, but just touching it will do something. So then I usually turn it off again, and then power it back on and start filming, and then flipping up the screen so I can see myself. And that's how when I flip it, that's how I know if I'm in the shot or not. So durability, it's really held up. You can also see the lens. I mean, there isn't a scratch on it. It has gotten wet before. This whole part has gotten wet. So, I was always worried about, the weather. So this is an investment. It's a good quality camera. You want to take care of it. It's just gotten scuff marked on the screen, which isn't really showing up on picture. It could really pass for, a very good, very well maintained camera after all this. And yeah, and then some. Oh yeah, and the memory card and the battery are on the bottom. And I've had plenty of batteries with me. I think there's 4 total. I have 2 Canon and 2, I guess knockoffs that I bring for reserves. But for the most part, I've been using the same battery. I charge it, and I just bring another one just to be on the safe side. But everything that, all the extras is just basically this SD card. And, this is all you really need to buy, because everything else is included except for that handheld. So that's 2.5 years of having a Canon G7X. I left out Mark II this entire time, the Mark II.